Recruit, go see the commander.
Yes, sir. Commander?
Ah, you must be new here. So why did you decide to come to Korea for your first fight?
I heard tensions were rising and I figured it would be a hotspot. Which reminds me, why are we even fighting Korea anyways? How did this start?
Boy, walk with me. I have a story to tell you. It all started when Japan surrendered after World War II. The Allies agreed to partition Korea at the 30th parallel, the Soviets in the north and the Americans in the south. At that point, the Soviets and the Americans were still considered allies. The partition was first meant to be temporary, and it was intended to give a unified Korea back to the Korean people, but the Cold War changed those plans. You see, each country encouraged governments friendly to their own interests. The Russians supported communism, and the US was very much against communism, so they established a right-wing government. The failure to hold free elections throughout Korea deepened the political border and tensions increased. On June 25, 1950, the North invaded the South. North Korea's strong and persistent attacks drove the defenders into a small area in the South known as the Pusan Perimeter. A rapid UN counteroffensive drove the North Koreans to and back over the 38th parallel.
Why didn't we follow them and take all of Korea?
Oh, there was a great contemplation at the UN of whether or not we should take all of Korea. There are two factors we had to consider.
Russia?
Yes, and China.
China?
The North Koreans had the support of China, who was also communist at that time. China was afraid that their country would be unguarded if we took all of Korea, and they needed a further buffer zone. They asked Russia to help, but although the Russians sent plenty of supplies, they only said they would protect China and not help in North Korea. Certain that China was bluffing, we crossed the 38th parallel. China, despite the lack of support from Russia, rallied their troops and helped North Korea. They were gaining back more and more land. Douglas MacArthur requested the nuclear bombing of China's mainland because it would allow them to regain the ground they lost. President Truman thought differently because negotiations with China were underway. MacArthur was enraged and went to Congress with his idea. President Truman was furious at MacArthur for going behind his back and had him removed. After fighting and fighting, China bringing in troops and the UN retaliating, we became deadlocked in the 38th parallel.
So this whole war was fought just so we could get back to where we started again?
Quite frankly, yes. A ceasefire was drawn up and signed in 1953, a couple of years before Russia launched Sputnik into space.
If the war was over, then why are we here now?
Technically, there is no official end to the war. No peace treaty was signed, and North Korea is threatening to use its nuclear missiles in their possession. They are also trying to sell their secrets to Iran. Although, if it comes to a fight, we are all going to annihilate them because most of the population is starving, and they don't exactly have much electrical power, and most of their population is quite uneducated. They only spend money on improving their weapons, and they have lost the support of their allies.
So they are basically screwed.
Yes, that's one way to put it. And now, more and more soldiers are being sent here to prepare for what's going to happen. Are you ready for battle, soldier?
Yes, sir.